So Dan Lin is not the man for DC Films universe. So there were talks apparently, but they fell through over negotiations concerning his own Ride Back production company, and its deal's already set up with the likes of Universal. And I don't know if the breaking down point was him to part company with Universal to be exclusive to Warner Brothers Discovery, which being the head of their main franchise studio for DC films, you would think that would be understood. But perhaps I didn't get all the details, but I think he wanted them to buy into his company, not just him. That way it could, I guess, lessen the loss of the Universal deal, or he wanted both. Who knows? But whatever the deal was, it couldn't get it together. But apparently Zaslav himself was serious on this guy, and couldn't make it happen. But was Dan Lin really worth all this trouble? He overlooked some of the movies that he had been involved in, and there's nothing ginormously spectacular there that's attributed just to him. The only interesting aspect was that he had been involved in the original Justice League film from 2008 that George Miller was doing. It almost happened, but a writer's strike shut all that down, and they never returned to it. And that this was an opportunity for him to have a second turn at bat, but I guess he wasn't that interested in it. There was some scuttlebutt about he's not a fan of Snyder, and that, oh boy, if he takes over, that's it for Snyderverse. I saw an interview where he made the joke about the Snyder bots, which is in the reference to the ridiculous Rolling Stone article, which just objectively reading that, they gave no evidence of anything. In fact, they actually contributed to the reality of it. I mean, when you put your only math up there and it indicates that it's, 87% were real. Well, still a significant number. Rolling Stone said we went to 3 firms, and then they have from it is no report whatsoever. They only had one representative of the company, and all she did was give a definition of what bots are and what they do. That's not evidence of anything. And then the rest of it was just the old tired narratives of, release the Snyder Cut and all that stuff. Plus, the writer had a bias herself, admittedly. It's not that people refer to it like it's some solid source of something, but it really isn't. But it sounds like he was of the crowd, perhaps, that was in that boat. And so why would Zaslav be interested in him if some people were saying he wants to restore the Snyderverse? I think all that really entails is that, for the most part, the cast that made up the Snyderverse, which is just the DCEU, it will still be in place. And more than likely, that's what it is. Whether that involves another battle with Darkseid down the road with the Justice League and all that, perhaps, maybe so. I would hope so. I mean, Darkseid's a very important character. And in keeping with how he's depicted in Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'd be fine with that, too. I thought that looked really cool. So, but they talk of a 10-year plan, and that could take it's going to take 10 years. So, does that involve Snyder? What I don't know. It's like every other week. It's like, hey, it looks likely. The next week, no, it's not. It's done. And yeah, that's that. As for the cast returning, the odds of Ben Affleck returning as Batman full time, not just these cameos, is starting to look very, very likely. And so that's interesting. When at one time I thought he was the least likely of anybody to return. Of course, Aquaman and Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman had a bad sequel, but I think she's, still, wanted to be in that. I mean, referring to Gal Gadot playing the role, would continue. Superman, so many different avenues with bad robot shenanigans, anti-Snyder people shenanigans, Henry Cavill himself wanting this or that, and they didn't want to budge on it, wanting him for this but not that, and all this type of thing, and back and forth between the two. But it always seemed like I thought it was likely that he would return, but it's been a while. Rumors about him returning fall flat, and but perhaps there is a deal, and so it still remains the Black Adam film is the one to watch for this. The problem for Black Adam, though, if you get a bunch of people excited about it and they want to tune in to see if Henry Cavill's Superman shows up, and he doesn't, then the drop-off will be pretty dramatic, at least among DC fans and whatnot. And the movie's got to be really good to just have your basic movie audience show up for it, show up for The Rock and all that sort of thing. There's a lot of intriguing, interesting things to it, especially to a DC fan, but someone who knows the DC lore with the Justice Society. The average moviegoer and whatnot and superhero movie fan doesn't know that. So I like seeing all these characters show up, and that's intriguing, and I'm wondering, how does this fit in to their overall DC Universe approach, and all of that. And then, of course, this takes place before the Flash movie. The way they've shuffled the decks yet again, Aquaman will now be the final film, so the Flash will have some influence over that film, apparently. And which was odd, because I thought the reason they were putting Ben Affleck in it was because it wasn't going to have an influence. So who the hell knows, But for Black Adam, it wouldn't. So this would seem to establish that Black Adam and the Justice Society have existed in the DCEU Earth, as it were, the same Earth of Man of Steel and everything. Or did they? Or is this another Earth? Is there something that gives it some separation, and they'll explore it further later? It's odd. It's strange. And how would they handle this? Is this the Justice Society with Dr. Fate? Looks to be the original Dr. Fate of Kent Nelson, played by Pierce Brosnan. And, of course, Hawkman, he reincarnates over centuries, or maybe even thousands of years. And so those two could be of the original Justice Society. Are they going to call back that these were the guys a part of a World War II era of justice? Eventually, I thought Black Adam would be a 3-part film where there's like ancient times of Black Adam and the Wizard Shazam. And then he comes into the World War II era, meets the original Justice Society, and they defeat him, and then escapes again into the modern age. And I doubt it. Maybe you can see nothing to indicate that, but it would be interesting if there was something of that. And this Justice Society that you're seeing with young Cyclone and Atom Smasher, that's more of the later Justice Society, who were basically the older heroes, were mentors to a younger generation of heroes, and that looks to be more in line with that. So that's all very interesting. But if the rumored scenes of a Superman, or maybe Henry Cavill, or they just have a body double for the time being, and if they can get him in there, they'll do it, which would tie it into the DCEU, and plus Amanda Waller is supposed to appear there. And Black Adam is the type of guy, if they could get a hold of him some kind of way, of course, it wouldn't be able to control him for long, to get him to be a member of a Suicide Squad mission. That could be interesting, that sort of thing. But anyway, that's all kind of up in the air, and I don't know that they've thought this through, if they're playing with that because in the old days, Justice Society was Earth 2, Justice League was Earth 1, and so they would cross over and stuff like that. But that's and the Shazam people were on yet another Earth, Earth S, as they call it. I think later on Grant Morrison changed it to Earth 5 or something like that. But they don't appear to be doing that, because Shazam already sets this up. Shazam acknowledged the DCEU in it. There were little nods to it, and then of course Superman more or less shows up in it, and then but also a scene alluding to Black Adam, just a brief little tale that there was another champion before Billy Batson and all that. And so it's an intriguing movie of itself, but all this playing around with rumors and whatnot, and Henry Cavill's Superman, if they haven't settled that, just the very aspect that there is no Superman scene in it, or there's no Henry Cavill scene in it. The first people who view the movie are going to come out, yeah, it's not there, and then they'll be, oh well, screw it. And so there is that danger of some drop off there, and that's unfortunate because the movie in and of itself might be okay, might be pretty good. But you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles. In the meantime, for the overall franchise of DC, they need Superman, and it'd be really great if they could get Henry Cavill to do it. But if they can't, they need to get work fast, if they haven't already, to recast that role with a new actor and introduce him perhaps at the end of Flash or something like that, and set that up, and then get your Superman movies up and running. Priority number one. So meanwhile, Black Adam, The Rock, and what his plans are and what he wants, all that will be interesting to see. He did watch a screen test incognito, and then revealed himself at the end, and all the little crowd there was all excited to see him and everything. And there were some interesting things. So he said, so what was the most interesting thing to you? And the guy said, well, the ending, it took me by surprise. I didn't know what to make of it, and they cut it off. So now it's like, oh, did it reveal Superman? Was it Henry? Or was it something like, there's a hint that there is a multiverse and this isn't the Earth you thought it was? I don't know. That's just me pulling that out of the air. I don't really know that. But whatever. But so a lot is now hinging on that, and it could be very unfortunate for the film that it doesn't deliver very much like the San Diego Comic-Con, and that would be unfortunate, but it's the situation they're in. And as for who's going to head it up, apparently Variety says that there's really no urgency to fill the job. So as it stands, the Warner Brothers studio chiefs Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi are basically overseeing DC films, because there's no one right there in the job other than Walter Hamada, but he's expected to step down in October. Maybe he'll stick around a little longer just to keep the seat for, what have you. But he would answer to them. But if it works out with them, then I guess it doesn't really matter. But I don't know. This idea of you have someone overseeing it and then reporting to Zaslav to at least at the outset to get this thing up and going, for the idea of the 10-year plan to provide this mega profitable franchise that could also fuel other things for Warner Brothers, which is the thought and the idea. Then perhaps they would need a central manager for that. I don't know, but the idea that those two are both in charge of the entire company, the whole studio, that takes attention away. But a lot of people, it seems like, a lot of people, I don't know who else other than Emma Watts, who originally was supposed to be taking on Paramount and wanted to reboot Star Trek and all that, and then ran into something and couldn't get it done, and to the point that she turned this down. What does Warner Brothers and Paramount have in common? Oh, that's right, Bad Robot. Even though Zaslav seemed to be very displeased with him, and he should be, but they may be still stuck and tangled with them to the point that they can't quite shake that off. And I'm again pulling this out of thin air. Maybe she said, "Oh no, not going there again." So it is interesting that because it's a tough thing to take on, because it's in a bad place despite some of the hits and whatnot. The challenge in and of itself should be intriguing to anybody, but then again, can you do it? So again, there's just, no matter what you do, there's always some stumbles and whatnot. Black Adam could be a great film, but this type of stuff can hurt it, and it's not its fault. It's just other things. And if they could just nail this deal down with Henry Cavill. That being said, he shows up, even if the movie is rather lackluster, it's probably going to become a major hit. Just because he's in it for a couple of seconds, not even a minute, just to say, hi, Amanda, with Amanda Waller, And so there you go. But that's it's really going to take a lot of air out of the tires, or out of the sails, should that occur, that there's no Superman or no Henry Cavill Superman in it, and then your next, you got to wait till Shazam comes along, and then the Flash. Now the Flash, people are going to see it just out of the incredible curiosity over this thing, so that one will probably be a hit just on that. Could be, unless of course leading up to it there's more terrible Ezra stuff. You never know. So I'm going to see Black Adam, but even if I hear ahead of time there is no Henry Cavill in it, because I'm interested in the story and I'm interested in the Justice Society and all that stuff. Yeah, it's just, like I said, I've said it before, DCEU or DC is just cursed. And despite all the best efforts of others, just can't seem to, get a break. Even when they get a hit, there's something else comes and derails it. But hopefully that'll change. Well, it's on to Black Adam, and we'll see what that delivers.